a scene where all the parts are already there. You just have to discover it, almost like an archaeological kind of find, you know. It's like, I believe that when you start a project that it already exists, and you just have to do the process of it. But the process of it is through, you know, being excited about it, you know. Because if you like something, whether it's a short film or a television show, you have to really like it. You have to say, God, am I going to get bored with this idea in 6 months? But sometimes you have to live with an idea for years. I mean, for years. You can write it. The quickest I've ever written a movie is 3 months. Then you spend another 3 months rewriting it. And if you're lucky, you get the money right away. You spend 3 months shooting it, and then another 3 months editing it and doing the music and the color timing and everything. And then, you know, if you're lucky enough to have the money to get an orchestra, you work with a composer. So it's at least a year if you're lucky. And sometimes it's more. I mean, you know, Steven Spielberg spent 7 years before he could finally get the right pieces together and get the money, you know, for Schindler's List. Sometimes it takes years. So, you know, film is what I love the most because it's engaging. You know, it's not television. People can stop the TV. You can stop a DVD. You can go in the other room. You can get popcorn or whatever. But in a movie, or people are in that. You know, that's why the movie theaters will never disappear because people want to be part of that shared experience and say, what is this person laughing at, or what do these people want to see? So it's like, you know, there was a midnight show of Pirates of the Caribbean the other night. And I was just coming out of another movie, and all these people are coming up dressed like pirates. They wanted to be part of that first time, that first show, and they're excited about that. And they were just fans, you know. Maybe some of them are show business, but yeah, that's fun, you know. And then you never know. Maybe you get on something that'll be a hit, but it is a business. You have to be treated as a business. You know, you have to put yourself in a position to get work, and when you do get a break, you will get you know, take advantage of it. Because I would say there's a lot of talented people that I meet musically, in entertainment. I see a lot of people, talented writers, actors, but it doesn't mean they're going to make it. It's got to be something else. You got to really want it, and then have a good attitude and want to work with people. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, that's a huge thing. You got to not be crazy. But anyway, I mean, I've worked in television, film, and writing. If you guys have some questions specifically about television production and film production, please ask. Anything specific? Yes, sir.
What's like the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome in it all?
Well, you know, Jack Parr was the predecessor to Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson got hired because he looked like Jack Parr. And there was a really interesting thing that happened. Johnny Carson, of course, was Jay Leno's predecessor. At that time, there was only 3 networks. There's ABC, NBC, CBS. That was it. They didn't have cable. That was it. And so at that time, it was legislated that they had to have 2 hours a day of hard news on the networks. And that was not like, you know, the disease of the week 2020 or these kind of shows, you know, celebrity stuff that they can call it news now. And so 2 hours a day of hard news. And so Johnny Carson's show was an hour and a half long. And in the late 60s, Johnny Carson's show was responsible for 80% of the network profits. Because it was like a half-hour block of commercials. So that was like a huge deal. But his predecessor, Jack Parr, said his biggest obstacle, is, I said, life is an obstacle course with myself as the chief obstacle. So I would say it's yourself. You know, the idea, sometimes thinking, you know, when I was a kid, I didn't know anybody in show business, and I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I was interested in it. But it didn't seem possible because people on TV didn't seem real. People in movies didn't seem real. How the hell could I do it? I didn't know about schools like this. There were no film schools that I'd ever heard of when I was a kid. And then I saw a performer live, you know. I saw Steve Martin perform in the 70s. And I went, well, okay. Well, technically, and I knew he'd been in movies, or I knew he'd been on TV at that point. He wasn't making movies at that point. But I said, okay, he is a person in the same room with me. So technically, it's got to be possible because he's doing it. And that's when he became a real person to me. And I said, okay, so I just got to find out. And I found out there was a comedy club in San Francisco. Then I was 16, I started, you know, going there and getting on stage, and that was it. But there's always going to be obstacles. And the whole point is it's supposed to be hard to shake out the people who don't really want to do it. You know, and even the people who do it, you know, there's 50,000 actors in LA. There's maybe 500 jobs, you know, at any one particular time. So it's a tough thing. And of those 500, there's maybe only about 80 people who are making some serious money at it in the acting profession, you know. And then there's a lot of cinematographers. There's a lot of, you know, in every field of it. But if you want to work hard at it, you got to do it. You just have to find a way to do it. I mean, the one good thing about the innovations that are happening now is with the new digital technology, you can make a movie. You can go out and get these new red cameras, which are the best right now. They have some technical flaws. I shot with them in Costa Rica 2 years ago in the swamps, and these are really good cameras. And that's what if you can take the camera and you can take it into wet, really humid conditions, and it's working. And you think, God, I hope I didn't just waste $200,000 down here for today. And then you put the chip in the computer and it downloads, and then you got it. Then that's pretty good. So you can buy a camera like that for $16,000, which is not crazy, 16 grand. And then you can get, with all the different lenses and stuff, maybe for 35 grand, you can get everything you need. You get a couple of those cameras, God knows you can get actors. It's just basically if you got a good story to tell. It's one thing I noticed. You can have all the best actors, the best cameramen, you can have all the money from a big studio, you can have great sets, you can have great music, but if your story's not interesting, who cares? You can have completely anonymous people nobody had ever heard of. You can have, shitty, camera guys who've never done it before. Maybe it's not even the right shot. And then you can do it in black and white. It can even, and then if you have an interesting story, then it's great, That's it. If you take a look at Raging Bull, sometimes I get too perfectionist about the shots, But nobody cares usually in a comedy. But even if you look at Raging Bull, there's a lot of out of focus shots in that movie. I just saw it again recently because somebody was telling me, because there's some shots in this movie that I made that I wasn't happy with. But we were on a low budget, we were moving quickly, and I was working with a crazy French director. And I said, shit, we don't have enough stuff. And we made it work even without every shot, because he didn't like to have a lot of cuts. French, the European filmmakers, like to just go wide and see what the hell happens. Whereas Americans are used to coming in, seeing shots, and cutting it. And you don't get the big of flow, but you also cover stuff, And so I had to learn to live with some shots. So, anyway. So is there any other questions or anything specific?
What was the most satisfying role you played in the industry? Was it directing or acting?
Well, there was a really personal movie that I'm still trying to get released called The Chosen One, and it's on Netflix. And we got it out on, it was a little tiny movie that we just made for a few million bucks, which is nothing in Hollywood, it's nothing, but try to shoot a movie for a few million bucks, union stuff. But it was a very personal movie about a family surviving a suicide, and they're all stuck. And it's kind of like a fairy tale about these people who come from South America, and there's a society of shaman, basically, these holy people. And it's true, these people exist. They were never conquered by the Incas or the conquistadors, or these people were separate from society up in these mountains in Colombia, and they just came out like about 20 years ago, and they're called the people of Terona. So I read about these people and I said, what if these people knocked on your door? My writing partner said, and I said, that's interesting. So we just wrote this movie and we made it, and it was really good, and I love it because I made it for me. And it's like, there's the two thoughts. I mean, you have to make movies. You can't make everything just for yourself, but sometimes you got to do it for you. And I know, I want to make it an entertaining thing, but I made that for me. And if nobody ever sees it, okay, I saw it, I like it. And people who have seen it, it's powerful if you're open to it. But most people expect comedies from me. So comedies, I really like Big Stan. It was a fun movie. Deuce Bigelow was fun. Working with Adam Sandler and 50 First Dates was fun. Those you get because you can have like a mass amount of people see your movies all over the world. I just got back from China. People recognize me in China from the Adam Sandler movies. So that's rewarding too. But I'll tell you, when we just did this movie Grown Ups was the first time Adam Sandler said, he had me come see one of the early screenings. He said, you're not gonna, you're gonna freak when you see this. There were little kids playing us in the movie. I don't know if you've seen it. and people were laughing at little kids playing us, which means they must know us. And I was kind of blown away by that. They said, yeah, these people grew up watching because we've been doing it for 25 years. You know, so that was rewarding. I like that.
What's the name of the movie that you did?
That's The Chosen One. It's on Netflix, and we're trying to get it internationally released, but we still have to do a couple $100,000 more work to it. So it just kind of stuck before we can get it internationally released, and then also released here in the States. We released it on Blockbuster to make some more money, and then Blockbuster went bankrupt.
That was a brilliant choice.
There you go. We had $900,000 from Blockbuster. Okay, we can finish the movie and have the money to advertise it, and then it went bankrupt. So that happens. But it happens to everybody. And I was talking to Jay Leno one time, and you know, Jay was saying, everybody thinks they got it bad. Everybody thinks, Tom Cruise thinks he gets the money. You know, Tom Cruise, everybody gets it even. You know, Sharon Stone thinks everybody gets the same money. Everybody's complaining about the So it's just surviving, you know, and doing what you love and working with your friends. I mean, that's pretty fun. I mean, why do something? Much better to have a short life than you're doing something you love than a long life doing something you don't. You know? The whole idea is this is a temporary thing, this life, you know. And you know, I remember another thing from acting class was like, hey, you guys are all in your 20s now, or we were. It says one day you're going to wake up, you're going to be in your 40s, and you're going to ask yourself, what the hell did I do with my life? You know, but I think your 40s, and I feel like I'm just getting started now. And if I'm still working, it's because I still feel like I'm just getting started. You know, I don't have the same pressure as much, you know, but I feel like, God, there's still exciting things I want to do. There's a story about, there's a girl surviving, a girl in the Philippines, who's a girl in the Philippines during the occupation of the Japanese. That's a story that I want to do. Nobody wants to pay for me to make that movie, but that's what I want to do. And I know I've been wanting to do it for 3 years, and I think in the next 3 years I'll be able to get the money to do it. But this movie that I did, The Chosen One, I called my